Hey guys, Joe here from Wild Aquatics and Exotics. This is the first video in our Introduction to Herptiles series, where we take you step by step through the basic theory of setting up and maintaining your first reptile or amphibian vivarium. In today's video, we're going to give a brief introduction on what to expect when keeping a vivarium. As the specific theory on keeping herptiles will be covered in later videos, for now I'd like to give you some food for thought when it comes to purchasing a vivarium setup. So, if you want to stay updated on future videos in this series, don't forget to like and subscribe. Before we get started, to clarify if you haven't heard the term before, a herptile is the term for both reptiles and amphibians, which are the main types of creatures you'll be keeping in a vivarium. In later videos we'll also be going into the specifics of keeping invertebrates, such as spiders and insects like praying mantises. However, in this series we'll be speaking about herps, although fortunately a lot of the knowledge is also transferable, so do keep watching. Now realistically, if you're watching this video, you likely already have the species in mind that you'd like to keep, such as a snake, tortoise, bearded dragon, or gecko. Therefore, it's very important for me to say straight away that the vivarium setup will be absolutely unique to that specific species you're intending to keep. For example, if you intend to keep a bearded dragon, you will have to set up your vivarium specifically to mimic the natural habitat of a bearded dragon, and you'll not be able to mix any other animals with it. You cannot just set up a vivarium with what you think is the correct equipment and hope it will be suitable for that specific animal. For argument's sake, this is very different to keeping fish, where you can add multiple species together and get away with having a standard filter and light as the equipment. This is very important to be aware of as a beginner, because you need to be fully aware of the differences in the cost of running and the required maintenance of keeping one species to another. So, in this video, I'm going to give you a very rough overview on the different types of vivarium setup and what they like to keep and maintain, because you may very well find out that one species setup may not suit your lifestyle or budget. Whilst there is almost certainly a type of herptile that would suit you, it's my job to make you fully aware and steer you towards a sensible choice before you purchase an animal out of impulse which you later find out you may not be able to care for long term. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to start off by making a very gross generalisation. There are basically two types of vivarium. Firstly, an arid vivarium. These are vivariums that house animals from generally hot, dry environments, although that does not necessarily mean deserts. These can house animals naturally located in areas such as North America, Africa, and Australia. Secondly, we have rainforest vivariums, housing animals that come from naturally humid environments such as South America, and again, some areas of Africa and Australia. The reason I claim this was a generalisation is because it isn't as black and white as that. For example, in a rainforest environment, you can have arboreal reptiles that live up in the trees that require very bright, warm environments, and amphibians that live down on the shaded ground level which is much cooler. Similarly, with arid vivariums, we can be talking about very dry desert type areas or more humid areas like grasslands. Again, I have to emphasise that the specific species requirements will denote what setup you'll have. Please do your own independent research when choosing a species of herptile to find out the specific setup requirements. The setup is the most important part of keeping a herptile, and practically speaking, the maintenance of keeping a herptile is actually very minimal. With regards to the setup, as a beginner, you'll have to consider the enclosure size, and many reptiles grow much larger than you think. For example, for an adult bearded dragon, which can get up to about 2 foot in length, even frugally needs at the very least a 5 foot long enclosure. On the same point, you should consider it cruel to keep a snake in an environment where it is unable to fully stretch out. The lighting requirements? All reptiles, especially diurnal species like bearded dragons and tortoises, require UVB lighting to metabolize calcium and prevent metabolic bone disease. Would you be better off getting an animal with not as intense UVB requirements? Heating and temperature control. Will the species of herptile you're keeping require a basking lamp, which can be expensive to run? Does it naturally come from a much hotter area than your room temperature, so it would require a lot of extra heating? Should you consider getting an alternative species that lives closer to your room temperature? Humidity and ventilation. Does the species you intend to keep require daily misting? Would you be better off keeping a species which may only need misting weekly? Feeding. Are you happy keeping frozen mice in your freezer? Are you happy with the procedure of feeding and culturing insects? If not, would you prefer to only feed a herbivorous herptile? And handling. Not all reptiles and amphibians enjoy being handled, and some of them can be easily stressed by frequent interaction. Some reptiles are best left as display animals due to their skittish and aggressive nature. With all this in mind, due to the electricity cost from lighting and heating, Generally, arid species are more expensive to keep than rainforest species. Some examples of arid species include bearded dragons, tortoises, and some snakes. Furthermore, as they are generally from cooler areas with less intense lighting and heating requirements, amphibians are likely a cheaper and easier to take care of choice. That being said, if you're looking for more of a pet rather than a display animal, you may be better off with a beginner snake or a bearded dragon, rather than an amphibian, which are mostly non-handleable. The best advice at this stage if you're considering purchasing a herptile would be to visit local shops to see their stock and to get inspiration and advice on which species would suit your lifestyle and budget. To save this video running on too long, in the next video I'm going to run through the basics of herptile theory, specifically in terms of the setup. Thanks so much for watching, and if you want to keep updated on more videos on vivarium and aquarium care, please like and subscribe.